Thought that I might start by talking a bit about my background and what I've done in Destination New South Wales, because it's a really good illustration of the variety and depth of and activities that one does when one works with an STO or a destination management organisation. And I'm probably a good example of the sorts of range of things one can get a chance to do. Is that okay? I started out managing a research collection there. We were very keen to ensure that development in New South Wales was done cleverly and with research behind it to back it up, to make sure that the developments were the right developments in the right locations. And after a few years doing that, I was moved into an information servicing area where we were actually providing tourist information to the visitors coming to New South Wales. And we were collecting all the information about the farm holidays or the service departments. And then I was in the position to actually be involved in computerising all that, putting it all on computer systems, which of course has now become ATW, the STW, the database that we all have in each state. Visit NSW.com is the one we have in New South Wales. And that, of course, is the database that we have for all consumer access to tourism products. So I'm hoping all your tourism businesses are listed on your respective tourism databases. But then I got a lucky break and was transferred to manage our European office, and I was based in London. And for 3 years there I was promoting New South Wales to Europe. And boy, that was a hard job. I mean, there's nothing, you sort of walk in and they sort of think of sunshine, they think of beaches, they think of the gorgeous country that we've got to promote here. And of course I was working with my interstate colleagues and with Tourism Australia in London and in Europe to promote Australia and promote New South Wales. And then came back to Australia and became a city marketing manager working on product and development. And that's my real love. And that's what I'm doing right now with my team. We work with tourism businesses, New South Wales tourism businesses, and we want to help tourism businesses, particularly the new ones, understand how to be effective in the tourism industry, know what to do in the industry to reach the right markets, to understand how to design their product to meet the market, and then understand which are the right distribution channels, how to reach the market that your product suits. So my team does that every day. We work one-to-one with businesses, understand what they're doing, understand who they're delivering that product to, and then help them, advise them on the right ways to do it. And when they get to that point of being market ready, we might critique their brochure, we might critique their fact sheets, we might critique their rate sheet, we might need to help them understand how commissions work. But when they're market ready, we then launch them on to the rest of the organisation. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But I wanted to just, by that one illustration, I've been very fortunate, but I've had a range of jobs across working with Destination New South Wales. And that's the beauty of working with an STO or an NTO, that the breadth is there. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. So what is a destination management organisation? This is the United Nations World Tourism Organisation's definition. No surprises there. It's really about leading the destination and becoming an umbrella leading organisation under which all the tourism businesses, all the tourism products work underneath. But you're providing that leadership in terms of marketing the destination and providing an umbrella for the products underneath. The key objectives, same as Tourism Australia, is increasing the number of visitors, but we care about those that come into New South Wales. We want to increase that spend, that overnight spend, because that's the reason government's involved in tourism. If you've ever thought about it, why is a government spending money on tourism? It's because of the economy, because of the impact it has on the economy, the dollars it spreads through the region, the dollars that go through the state. That's why government cares and why government gets involved. And particularly the increase in dispersal. Sydney, we're very lucky to have Sydney as part of our state. And of course it gets a lot of attention, and it's a very desirable and appealing destination. But the rest of the state has some wonderful things to offer as well. And our constant challenge is to entice visitors to go that bit further afield. Get them to Blue Mountains, get them to Port Stephens, see if we can sort of pull them through beyond Sydney to experience more of what Australia has to offer and what New South Wales has to offer. So Destination New South Wales, now you may be aware that this is a fairly new name for us. When the new government came into place in 2011, we were a merged organisation. Tourism New South Wales was merged with Events New South Wales to create Destination New South Wales. And if you think about it, it makes sense to combine the events side of government agency with the tourism side, because events is all about giving another reason for people to come somewhere for a particular occasion, a sporting event, a cultural event, that kind of thing. So it made sense to combine tourism with events. So our role as an agency is to secure and develop major events. Anyone been to Vivid in Sydney? Yeah. It's amazing how well that's taken on. It's only been in place for 5 years. But I don't know whether you were caught in any of the traffic jams or the pedestrian jams in Sydney this year. But it's just grown exponentially every year. And what I've been fascinated to see is how much, my family, who haven't got a clue about tourism, they all know, they all go to Vivid. And not because I'm nagging them, it's become something that Sydney-siders have adopted. But I know that a couple of general managers of hotels, and we survey very widely to find out what the impact of Vivid was. Because there's no point in government spending money on an event if it doesn't stimulate spend, bring visitors in, bring those dollars in. Now, we had general managers of 4- and 5-star hotels in Sydney saying to us that people were realising that they could avoid the pedestrian jams, they could avoid the traffic jams if they booked a night in a hotel in Sydney that night and didn't drive in from the suburbs or didn't come in by public transport. So there's going to be a whole new stimulation, a whole new way next year, I think, is going to happen. People are going to book to stay there for part of Vivid. And this is why we're doing events, to just get that sort of thing happening. But we're also here to market Sydney and New South Wales destinations. And I don't just mean the mountains and Port Stephens, I mean Broken Hill, I mean Orange for the food festival. I mean Jindabyne for the ski and the summer events in the snowy area. The Country Music Festival in Tamworth. We're lucky in New South Wales in that we've got snow, we've got beaches, we've got outback, we've got natural assets of national parks and forests. So we've got a whole range of experiences here, so we're very fortunate for that. And we implement programs and initiatives, and that's really the marketing we do, to provide vehicles to get out and talk to the consumer and to the trade as well. And of course, we've got a large challenge ahead of us, and I know that you also mentioned that the doubling the visitor expenditure by 2020, and we've got a role to play there too. So our challenge is to also increase visitor expenditure in New South Wales by the year 2020. So who are our partners in Destination New South Wales? Well, it's all of you, all the businesses that you represent. Really important to us because we can't do anything without product on the ground. You're an extremely important part of this whole industry. But so are event organisers. So is a Business Events Sydney. Business Events Sydney is bringing in the business traveller. And of course, they often spend time either side of their business event to have some leisure time. So that's more dollars coming through the door. And our regional tourism organisations, which are, if you like, a sort of a mini version of Destination New South Wales. The regional tourism organisation for the Blue Mountains, or for inland New South Wales. There's one at Snowy Mountains. And they work together to promote their particular region and look after their region. And of course, we also work very closely with industry associations like ATEC, like AHA or TAA, Tourism Accommodation Australia, BOA, Backpacker Operators Association. They're all part of the community that we need to work with and ensure that their membership is looked after and is participating in our activities. Now development, and this is my favourite part. I added these slides specially. I know that Simon Shepherd, my manager, presented some of this content last year to the Young ATEC group. And I've just inserted the next few slides because this is my particular area and I think you'll find it interesting too. I hope you will. But we can't just rely on marketing to do the job for us. We can't just rely on what's out there right now. We've got to make sure that the product we're providing to our visitors is up to scratch. Now we've got two sorts of things we can do. We can create new products, we can create new infrastructure, we can build new attractions, we can have new boutique hotels and resorts. But what about the businesses that are already there? What about that 80% who are already have been delivering for years, but perhaps might need a bit of a refresh, might need a bit of a review of what they're doing? And my team works with these businesses to give them ideas on things they can do, to just perhaps sit back and have a look at what they're doing and get some ideas about how to think about the consumer of today. That's the challenge for small businesses, and as we know, a lot of our tourism plant is actually run by families, mum and dads, small operations. That's the lion's share of businesses in New South Wales. And they need help and advice to help them step back and look at what they're doing and make sure it's still up to date. Because they might have bought that wonderful boutique hotel 10, 15 years ago, or that bed and breakfast, or run that wonderful little zoo in the country and bought that 15, 20 years ago. But the consumer of today is different to the consumer of 20 years ago. You know, you have changed as visitors. We know from Tourism Australia's research that the experience seeker is someone who wants to not just observe, but be engaged. They want to learn. They don't want to sit back and watch out from the window of the coach. They want to be engaged and do it themselves. That's what you want to do. You don't want to sit there and watch someone else do something. You want to be part of it. You want to build the fire if we're going to have damper over the fireside at night. You don't want to sit while somebody else goes and gathers the sticks and does it all. You know, we're much more inclined to learn and be engaged. So we've got to help operators who've been in business for a while to think about that and see how they can perhaps refresh what they're doing. We've just been out in New South Wales and conducted 16 workshops around New South Wales. And the idea behind it was to offer tourism businesses a chance to think about their business and think about what they could do next, what needed to be done next. Have they not had enough time in their day to think about the distribution channels? Were they still, were they making sure they reached the right markets? Had they not looked at their booking engine? Had they not really checked their search engine optimization? Had they really, we just give them a sort of a chance for a sort of a health check really of their business, just for one day. And one of the things we say to them is, when did you last sleep in one of your own beds? Stay the night in your own hotel, your pub, your bed and breakfast, and experience it as a customer would. You know, does that jug cord reach to the tap from where it is? Are the towels as fluffy as they used to be? You know, what's the experience like? Equally, if you're an attraction, do you perhaps go in and treat yourself as a customer and stand at the back and watch how the crowds are managed at the desk where they're buying the tickets? You know, is it clumsy? Is it difficult to get through the fluffy toy stand? You know, what could be done to make it a better experience for the customer? Can they eavesdrop on customers and find out that things aren't quite right? A lot you can do that way. And if you're a tour operator, when did you last sit in the back of the coach and listen to someone else delivering the commentary and just see how the dynamics work? How does the commentary stand up? Does it need a refresh? That kind of thing. All about development. Now we need the new products, we need refreshed products for these reasons. To develop the destination, I beg your pardon, I haven't moved on, have I? There we go. We need this to ensure that there's more reasons to visit, to encourage length of stay, to increase repeat visitation, and to remain competitive, because all our fellow states are doing the same thing. We've got to keep moving. We heard from Anita, isn't it? Anita was talking about food and wine being a trend. Now, it's been around for a while, but it's something that we can really all emphasise in our own businesses, and we tell that to our tourism operators too. Make sure you're using the local produce at your breakfast table when you're serving breakfast. All those small touches. So what we do is provide advice on developing and building a tourism business. But we also advise on the services and opportunities that we can offer you and your businesses. One point might be worth making: we don't create businesses. We are relying on the private sector to create tourism products, tourism businesses. So we're providing advice to the private sector about how to develop a tourism business. We can provide government contacts and details in case there's regulations that need to be sorted through. And sometimes we might provide assistance for major projects, really major multi-million-dollar projects. But essentially, we're there to provide advice to the private sector. So we might be helping a product at different stages of its life. It might come at the concept stage. It's often the time someone will come in with a great idea for a business, haven't started actually doing anything about it, but just want to talk through an idea with us. And sometimes we're the first place they've come to where we can give them an objective view of what they've got in mind. And we might be able to say, do you realise there's already 3 companies doing something very similar out there right now? That competitor analysis is really important. It's very hard to find a unique business these days. So you don't want to waste time. You mustn't do your competitive analysis first to ensure that you're not trying to venture into something that's already very well established out there. But equally, you might be looking at a business that is at the market ready stage, but wants to go to the international ready stage. And they might be seeking some advice from us on how you go about that. That's what we can do. This is the kind of a diagram that shows the journey a business might go through with us. They might start at that concept stage. We have a toolkit we give to new businesses, and it's a guide to how the tourism industry works. And it has a range of fact sheets which talk about things like how to design a brochure, how to think about your market, how to price your product, how the distribution channels work, how to manage your own PR. These are all in the fact sheets, and they're all on our website as well. Because we really want to equip our businesses with as much skill as possible, much knowledge. So then they might come to us and get this business development advice and product development advice. And these are the topics we're likely to discuss with them. First of all, product design. Get that concept right first. Understand what the research says. There was someone in the room was asking before Anita about the self-drive markets and asking a very intelligent question. Which are the self-drive markets which are worth exploring? Which countries have a propensity to enjoy self-drive? Very important question to ask. No point in designing it for the wrong market. So understanding research is a really key part of the product design process. Competitor analysis, I've just mentioned that to you. Looking at your markets, domestic or international, you might have a really successful business staying in the domestic market. You may not need to go international, but that's the decision we have to make based on what your product is. Then that challenging area of distribution channels. Is it all online? Does it have to go through ITOs and wholesalers? All those questions need to be thought through, and it all depends on the sort of product you're offering. And then finally, pricing, that challenging time when you've got to think about what I'm going to price this product at so I can make a profit and I can build in my commissions so that I can have third parties selling it on for me. And then that great time happens when the business is actually ready to go, and we can then let the rest of the organisation know about it, and that's when we get to this point. Trade resources and education. That's where we are now launching it so it can now get coverage through our colleagues in the international area, in the PR area, etc. Let me just show you that. Can you read that at the back? Is that all right? Legible? Lovely, thank you. So trade resources and education. It's really important that we involve our trade partners in opportunities that we can facilitate through our overseas offices. So once a product is ready to go with the international market, we can offer them trade for mills so that we actually get decision makers from wholesalers and perhaps ITOs, inbound tour operators, to come and experience your product. We work with Tourism Australia and the Aussie Specialist Program to feature your products in programs once they're in wholesale programs. We provide briefings for New South Wales operators to talk to the operators about who the buyers might be. And when new products are coming online, we want to showcase them to ITOs as quickly as possible. We want to show the ITOs in New South Wales and the wholesalers that there are new exciting things to do in New South Wales. So we will host new product workshops in our offices, and we invite ITOs to come to find out about great new things that they can do and they can include into their new programs for the next year. So if this is relevant to you in your own business, please talk to me later on. And also we've got the trade resources. I've shown you the business toolkit. We also have fact sheets on things like pricing and how to do a template for a rate sheet. If you weren't sure how to design a rate sheet so that you could gear it for the ITOs or the wholesalers, we have those templates in our office just to help give you some guidelines on, so you don't forget to include a certain aspect of information on that sheet when you're designing your very first one. And finally, there is a funding program for international trade events that our trade services area manages. I think you can see that it's in our interest as an STO. We want successful New South Wales tourism business, and every other state the same. We need to be able to talk about new and exciting things that are being done. And if you're an established product, it's as important to keep us informed of new things you're doing, a new cruise you're offering, a new shorter tour you're providing for a certain segment. All that news about your business and your product is relevant for us, and we can spread the word. Trade missions and events, we do those all year round. We've been to Southeast Asia just recently. Sharon's been on our Southeast Asian mission. We're planning one to China. We've got one in New Zealand in September. And these are ones where our officers in those locations set up a trade event and then invite key tourism businesses which are relevant to that market to come on that escorted tour with us to have scheduled appointments with key buyers in market. It's a great opportunity because it saves you the effort of doing it on your own. It groups together so there's a concentrated effort or focus on New South Wales product when you're in market. So it does have a lot of benefits. As you know, AT was in Sydney earlier this year, and it was great fun to have it back here again. But that program of trade events is just a really important way to ensure we get buyers and sellers together. The International Business Development Support Program is run by our Trade Services area, and if you wanted to find more about how the funding is worked, it's on our website. I won't go into details right now. Now, New South Wales is Australia's top performing state, and more visitors come to New South Wales and stay longer. So we're very happy about that. That's a gorgeous, vivid shot you've got there. You probably recognise that. Now, the tourism marketing, we do that both domestically and internationally. We have an ongoing program of marketing to the Sydney side to go out to regional New South Wales. And of course, we promote in Queensland and Victoria, encouraging them to come to visit Sydney and regional New South Wales as well. That's going on all the time. It's funny, you know, sometimes we have operators talking to us and saying, why don't you promote, you know, our region? We never see any ads promoting our region. There's one very good reason for that. Because those ads are being run in Victoria. They're not being run in New South Wales. They're being run in Queensland or WA. And that's why operators sometimes think, gee, what is Destination New South Wales doing? I haven't seen anything recently. It's a very good reason why. It's got to be in market, not here where the operators are. So it's something to just keep in mind. And our partnerships. Of course, we work very closely with Tourism Australia, both internationally and here. And as we've heard from Anita, we have the chief funster roaming around at the moment, Andrew Smith. So he's having a ball, and he's a lovely guy, really lovely guy. That's worked out really well. And of course, we work very closely with the other state tourism organisations as well. There's a friendly rivalry going on there. You know, we've all got the same. You know, when it comes down to it, being realistic. And when I was working in London, you know, we'd all get together to work on a German trade event or something, and you'd all be doing a presentation to the travel agents, perhaps in Belgium or Holland or somewhere. And it was so often the case that we all had a Harley-Davidson tour somewhere in our state. We all had at least one dolphin cruise in our state. maybe 2. We all had, an eco-tourism experience. So so we're quite realistic about it. It's just a matter of where the consumer wants to go, and then they choose which one they want. But we're all very good friends. And then, of course, there are all the obvious major partners. Airline partnerships are so important. The wholesalers and ITOs. I know there's a lot more online bookings now outside the traditional tourism distribution channels. But nevertheless, inbounds and wholesalers are really important because they are a great way to launch new product, to get some coverage of new product. And I don't think that's going to change in a hurry. But one can't neglect the OTAs as well. They're also a very important part of the networking. Of course, the retailers, and we've mentioned OTAs as well. Now, the marketing in our overseas offices, we do have overseas offices in those 7 countries, but we've got 2 offices in China, Tokyo, UK, Los Angeles, Auckland. We've got Hong Kong and Singapore, and recently opened an office in India as well. So we're quite trying to keep up with the new emphasis on China and India as being major markets for us. I like that phrase, free ink. I like it. It's really telling operators or telling businesses that it's not all about putting your hand in your pocket and cooperative advertising. Yes, of course, that's part of one's marketing mix. But if you work your PR well and cleverly, you can get a lot of coverage that doesn't really cost you an awful lot, perhaps beyond an overnight stay or a tour ticket. And it's simply giving coverage about anything that might happen in your business, whether it's the first, the last, the newest, the best. Our PR lecturer in our recent workshop program called it the STs. To think of anything in terms of, can I say it's the biggest, the last, the best, the freshest, the newest, anything with an EST on the end. If you can spin a story around that, and anything you're doing in your business, that is an excuse for a PR release, public relations release. So keep that in mind. And our events tally, we're very happy with the way that's working, and it's not just Sydney focused, it's very much regional focused as well. And we do put dollars into major events in regions that attract visitors, but there is one catch. We don't just fund every event or any events that come through. There's a criteria that must be applied, and it must draw visitors from not just the local town. It must draw visitors that are tourists rather than just people coming from the local area. That's the test. And of course, Louise would know that very well because that's your field, isn't it, Louise? But the plus is that those events, those excuses to travel this week rather than in 3 weeks' time because there's an event on, it's a really good trigger for us, and we're really making as much of that as we possibly can. And you can see by the dollars that have been spent by visitors that it's going pretty well at the moment. And we do measure very intently to see what's going on, so that we can see that any dollars that the government invests does return something to the taxpayer, if you like, in the end. So it's a really important part of measurement. Is really crucial for us now. And that's just examples of some of both the Sydney events there and regional events there. And these calendars come out regularly now. Again, hopefully capturing someone's eye to think, gee, I'll make that visit. I've been meaning to go there. I'll time it around that event because that's a really good reason to go. So really that's, in a summary, what a destination marketing organisation like our own does. It applies similarly to a regional tourism organisation. I think the thing I'd like to leave you with is that it's a very varied area, business to work in. And while I know that this presentation has been really designed to educate you about the different sectors in your industry, and I think this is only week 2 or 3 that we're in? 2, thank you. So it's early in the series. But think of it in 2 ways. Think of it as first learning how a STO or NTO works, but secondly, at the possibility that this might be an interesting career change for you at some point during your long and happy careers in the tourism industry. Because the fun thing about being in an STO, and I've experienced it myself, as I think I've illustrated, the variety is stimulating and interesting. And every day is different because you're working with businesses like yourselves, you're working with a whole range of other players in the industry, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. Thank you.